Hello Divination and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you step by step how to design an animated clock with Divi's scroll effects. This is the final result we're aiming to achieve. So without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is to create a brand new page. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and click on page. We need to give this page a name. So in this case, I'm just going to say clock and then use Divi Builder. Next, I'm going to build from scratch. And then we're going to go for our column structure, and I'm going to go with a single column. I'm just going to close this for now and then go into my row settings. Next, I'm going to come over here to background and add my background color. So I'm going to paste it like that. Now that I have my background color, I'm going to come over here to design, sizing. And here we need to activate use custom gutter width. And the gutter width is the space between the columns. So right now we want everything tight. So I'm just going to bring it all the way to 1, which means there won't be any gaps between the columns. Next, we're going to set our width. And here we're going to set it to 50 VW. And then the next step now is to set our maximum width. And this is going to be 500 pixels. And our maximum height is also going to be the same. So we're going to change it from auto to 500 pixels. So actually our minimum height here should not be 500 pixels. It needs to be the maximum height that needs to be 500 pixels. So I'm going to add it here. And then finally, we're going to add our height, and this is going to be 50 VW. So the next step now is to head over here to border. And here we need to set our rounded corners to 50% to create a perfect circle, just like that. So with this, you have to make sure that your chain is activated, because if it's not, then the 50% is going to be applied to each side. All right, so moving on, we're going to go to our border width. So I'm going to scroll down here and set this to about 15 pixels, and we're going to set this to white. The next step is to add our box shadow. So I'm going to come over here and choose the first option. So we're going to go with this, and now we just need to go in and add our customizations. So the box shadow vertical position needs to be set to 0. So I'm going to come over here, set this to 0, and our box shadow blur strength needs to be 68. And then here on the box shadow color, we are going to set this to a custom color, and I'm going to paste it like that. Now, if you want to use the exact same colors as I'm using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link in the post in the show notes below. All right, so now that I have this all set, I'm going to come over here to advanced, and then I'm going to go to visibility. And here we need to set our horizontal overflow to hidden. So I'm going to set it to hidden. And then our vertical overflow needs to be hidden as well. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Now it's time to add our hour markers. So I'm going to save this, click here on this plus button. And what we need here is a divider. So I'm going to add it. So we're going to give this divider a color, and by also make sure that you set show divider here, because that's very important. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to go here to the background and set my background color. I'm going to paste it like that. So next we're going to go to the width. So I'm going to click here on design, go to sizing, and over here for our width, I'm going to set this to 10 VW. For our maximum width, I'm going to set this to 150. My height here is going to be 3 pixels. And then we're going to go to our border, set our rounded corners here to 8 pixels. Making sure that your chain is activated so all the sides are all selected at the same time. The next step now is to go to transform. So I'm going to scroll all the way down here, click on transform. So what we need here is transform rotate. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to set this to 90 degrees. Now we need to position this correctly. So I'm going to come over here to advanced position, and the positions type we need is absolute. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and then we're going to select the center. So now we have everything right there in the center. So now that we have this, we're going to save. And then the next step is to duplicate this. So what we're going to do is going to click on this expand settings, click on the layers, and we're just going to find where our layers are. So I'm going to go into my row, column, and here is our divider. So what we need to do with this divider here is to duplicate it. And once duplicated, we're going to come over here and we're going to change the position. So what we're going to do next is going to come over here to advanced position, and we're going to change our absolute position. So I'm just going to close this now because we don't need it anymore. So what you need to do is to continue adding these markers here by changing the position over here. So you can see when I do that, it's going to change the absolute position. So you want to keep duplicating these until you have all these 4. And for the one here on the side, you need to make sure that this is the position that you need to add. And also the same applies to the one here on the left. So once all those are added, the next step now is to create the clock hands. So to do that, what we're going to do is to, in fact, I'll just save this. We need to come over here and duplicate this first one. So to go into all our layers, I'm going to come over here to my layers view, and then I'm just going to collapse this. So the first one that we need here is this one here, the 12 o'clock. So we're going to duplicate that, and then we're going to go into the settings, and then the next thing is to come over here to advanced, click on position, and this time we're going to add this position here to the center, because that's how we're going to achieve these hands. Okay, so now that I have this all set, we're going to come over here to the design tab and make some changes. So the first thing we need to do is to come over here to sizing, and this is where we need to make our adjustments. So the width here is now going to be 20, and the maximum width is going to be 200, and the height is going to be 0.5 VW, and for our maximum height is going to be 7.5 pixels. All right, so the next step now is to come over here to transform, and what I need here is the transform translate. I'm going to break this chain and set this to 0%. Next, I'm going to come over here to rotate, and I'm going to set this to -90. And then I'm going to come over here to transform origin, and I'm going to set it over here. So as you can see now, it is well lined up, and that is slowly taking shape. So the next step now is to add my background color. So I'm going to come over here to content, click on background, and I am going to add my background color in here. So I'm going to paste it like that. So the color that we need here is going to have some transparency. So I'm going to drag this right slider down, and then I'm going to paste my values between the brackets like that. So now it's time to create the minute hand. So we're going to duplicate this, go into the settings, and for this we're going to add a gradient. So I'm going to come over here, click on this plus button, and add my first color. So I'm going to paste it like that. And by the way, if you want to use the exact same colors as I'm using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link to the post in the show notes below. All right, so now I'm going to paste my second color like that. And for my gradient direction, I'm going to set this to 90 degrees. So I'm going to come over here and set this to 90. Now, while we're here, I might as well go in and rename this. So this one here is the minute hand. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want to get confused when I'm looking for my settings. Okay, so now that I have this one here is going to be the second hand, and I'm just going to drag this to the bottom. All right, so making sure we have the minute hand selected. The next step now is to come over here to the design tab, click on sizing. So here on sizing, for the width, we're going to set this to 15. And for the maximum, we're going to set this to 150. And then over here for the height, we're going to set this to 1 VW. And maximum height here is going to be 15 pixels. So now it's time to create the hour hand. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to come over here and duplicate this and just name this hour. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to go into the settings. So in the settings here, we're going to first start by changing the color. So we're going to set our color here to white. And I'm just going to remove this. Now I'm going to go into my sizing. So here we're going to set our width to 10. For our maximum width, we're going to set this to 100. So as you can see here, we pretty much have all the hands that we need for our clock. So we have the hour hand, the minute hand, and the second hand. So I'm going to save this. So now we need to go into the hour hand. So what we're going to be doing next here is to add our animations. So I'm going to come over here to the advanced tab and then go to scroll effects. So the first thing I'm going to do here is to enable the rotation. So I'm going to click here on rotate, enable it. So now I'm going to add my values. So in the midsection here, I'm going to set this to 15, and the ending rotation is going to be 30. Now I have to set the viewport. So I'm going to drag this to 10%. And then over here, we're going to drag this to 90%. And the middle part here is fine at 50%. So over here, trigger effects, we're going to set this to top of element. Okay, so pretty much that's all we need to do here. I'm going to save this. And then the next is the minute hand. So I'm going to click here on the gear icon, advanced. Then I'm going to come all the way down here to scroll effects. So again, what we're going to need to set here is the rotation. So I'm going to go in and activate rotation. Now with that activated, I'm going to set the middle part here to 180 and the ending is going to be 360. So the starting here is going to be 10. The end here is going to be 90 and we are fine here at 50% in the middle. Now, as we did before, we're going to set the motion trigger here to top of element and save. All right, so moving on, we need to do the second hand. So again, we're going to come over here, click on the gear icon to go into our settings, click advanced, scroll effects, go into our rotating. Right, so now we're going to go a bit crazy with the mid section here since this is the second hand. So let's start by enabling this first, but the mid section here is going to be 5,400 degrees. And then here we're going to go 10,800, 10%, like what we need before, and 90%. All right, great. So our animations now are all set. So if we start scrolling now, we should be able to see the effect. Okay, so as you can see here, as I'm scrolling, this is now acting like a clock. All right, so I'm going to close this, save the page, and we're going to do a proper preview. So now that I've saved it, I'm going to exit the Visual Builder and let's take a look at the final design. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and do follow us on our social media platforms. By doing so, you'll be notified every time we release new tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.